John, people buy wine units to protect what they've collected, not just to keep bottles cold. But when the conditions inside don't stay consistent, that protection breaks down fast. And that's because most of them aren't built for long term preservation as much as they're built for shorter term convenience. And if you dig into the reviews, the cracks start to show.
Yeah, so this review's really getting right to the core problem, right? The unit is holding wine, but it's actually not going to preserve it well for them. And it's not just one thing that's going wrong here, it's actually two, and they're deeply connected. Temperature fluctuation and excess humidity are two of the fastest ways to compromise wine. And in most under counter units, neither one could be managed particularly well. And if you start with temperature, because this is probably the easiest one to figure out, when a wine cooler says that it's set to 45 degrees, most shoppers are probably going to think that it's holding it right there for you. But most of these units don't actually hold temperature. What they're doing is they're swinging above and below and then taking the average out over time. So while the display is going to say 45 degrees, that wine could be riding somewhere between 42 and 49 all day long. And that kind of fluctuation may not seem too dramatic, but for wine, it's completely destructive. That kind of a swing is going to do things like shifts in cork pressure. You could stir up sediment. You could mute the aromatics for sure. And then it's definitely going to accelerate the uneven aging of the wine. Now, when you add on top of that poor humidity control, you're going to get exactly what this customer saw in this review. Condensation on the door, moisture buildup, water on the floor. But what's interesting is the review doesn't get into actually what's going on inside the cavity, right? That same instability on the outside is going to soften labels and encourage mold and degrade the cork integrity over time. Because we know when you have too much humidity, you're going to get rot inside the unit. But if you have too little, you're actually going to get oxidation. And that's why these high-end wine preservation units are engineered really around four core pillars. But in this episode, we're focused on the two that the review hits, which are temperature stability and moisture control. And to combat these things, the best units that you want to look for have multi-zone thermal sensors. And that's really what's going to control the drift in those temperatures. Most of those lower end units are just reporting that. Then you also have these variable speed compressors, and we know these very well from bigger refrigeration, and that's going to maintain the precision throughout the unit. And then lastly, and probably the most underappreciated, is a sealed cabinet construction. And that's really important to help regulate those interior moisture levels. Most of these other units are really just kind of venting it out. Because when you think about wine, you don't just need to be cold. You actually have to be stable. And then you also have to be able to breathe in the right environment. And if you don't have those two things, you are not going to be successful with long-term preservation.